Generating reports with Nipper. Introduction. In the world of network security audits, reporting is one of the most essential outcomes of any audit process. Reports allow network administrators, security teams, and decision-makers to assess the current state of their network infrastructure, highlight vulnerabilities, and take necessary action to address risks. Generating and interpreting audit reports effectively can be the difference between a well-secured network and one that is vulnerable to attacks. Whether you're conducting security audits on routers, switches, or firewalls, the ability to generate clear, concise, and actionable reports is critical. In this chapter, we will dive into the process of generating basic network audit reports using tools like Nipper. We will also discuss how to interpret the reports, focus on key areas that demand attention, and utilize the findings to enhance network security. The importance of report generation in network security audits. Providing insight into network vulnerabilities. Reports from network security audits provide a detailed view of the vulnerabilities and misconfigurations within the network. These vulnerabilities, if left unchecked, can serve as entry points for attackers looking to exploit weak security measures. By generating detailed reports, administrators gain critical insight into the areas where their network is vulnerable and can take the necessary steps to patch these weaknesses, enabling compliance with regulatory standards. In many industries, organizations are required to comply with regulatory standards such as GDPR, PCI DSS, HIPAA, and others. Compliance auditors often require detailed security reports to assess whether an organization meets these standards. Effective reporting not only helps in meeting compliance requirements, but also reduces the risk of legal and financial penalties for failing to protect sensitive data. Facilitating communication with stakeholders. Network security teams often need to communicate findings with non-technical stakeholders, such as executives or board members, who may not have an in-depth understanding of network configurations and security protocols. Reports play a vital role in translating technical data into actionable insights that business leaders can use to make informed decisions about security investments and risk management strategies. Understanding the structure of basic audit reports. Before diving into the process of generating reports, it's essential to understand the structure of a typical network audit report. Although the exact structure may vary depending on the tool used, for example, Nipper, most basic audit reports will contain the following sections. Executive Summary. The Executive Summary is a high-level overview of the audit findings. This section is written for non-technical stakeholders and provides a concise summary of the overall security posture of the network. It highlights critical vulnerabilities, compliance gaps, and potential risks without going into too much technical detail. Device Inventory. The Device Inventory section lists all the devices that were included in the audit. This includes routers, switches, firewalls, and any other network devices that were analyzed. The inventory typically provides basic information about each device, such as its IP address, model, and firmware version. Vulnerability Analysis. This section of the report provides detailed information about any vulnerabilities or misconfigurations that were identified during the audit. Vulnerabilities are typically categorized by severity, e.g., high, medium, low, and each vulnerability is accompanied by a description, its potential impact, and recommended remediation steps. Compliance Analysis. If the audit is being conducted to ensure compliance with a specific regulatory framework, the report will include a compliance analysis section. This section highlights areas where the network meets or fails to meet regulatory standards, providing a roadmap for achieving compliance. Recommendations. The Recommendations section provides actionable steps for addressing the vulnerabilities and misconfigurations identified in the report. This may include updating firmware, changing configuration settings, or implementing additional security controls. Recommendations are often prioritized based on the severity of the vulnerabilities. Appendices. The appendices contain any additional information or data that may be relevant to the audit, but doesn't fit neatly into the main sections of the report. This may include detailed configuration files, log data, or other technical documentation. Generating reports with Nipper. Nipper is a powerful tool for auditing the configurations of network devices such as routers, switches, and firewalls. One of Nipper's key strengths is its ability to generate detailed, customizable reports that provide actionable insights into the security and performance of network devices. Getting started with report generation. After conducting a configuration audit using Nipper, generating a report is a straightforward process. Most tools like Nipper have built-in functionalities that allow users to quickly create reports in a variety of formats: PDF, HTML, CSV, etc. Here's a basic step-by-step guide for generating a report using Nipper. Complete the audit. After scanning the configurations of network devices and completing the audit, Nipper compiles all the necessary data for the report. Choose report format. Nipper allows users to select the desired report format. For basic audits, PDF or HTML formats are often the most convenient, as they are easily shareable and readable by various stakeholders. Customize the report. Nipper provides users with the option to customize the report content. You can choose to include or exclude certain sections, depending on the audience. For instance, a technical report may include in-depth vulnerability details, while a report for executives may focus more on high-level findings and recommendations. Generate the report. Once the customizations are complete, click the Generate Report button. Nipper will compile the audit findings into a coherent report based on the selected options. Review the report. Before sharing the report with others, take the time to review it for accuracy and completeness. Ensure that the information presented is relevant to the specific goals of the audit. Customizing report content. Customization is a key feature of tools like Nipper, allowing network administrators to tailor the report content based on the audience or specific objectives. For example, technical versus non-technical reports. A technical report may contain detailed configuration data, vulnerability analysis, and remediation steps, while a non-technical report may focus on summarizing risks and recommendations for decision-makers. Vulnerability severity. You can choose to include only high-severity vulnerabilities in the report or provide a comprehensive overview of all identified vulnerabilities. Compliance data. If the audit is focused on ensuring compliance with a specific regulatory framework, Nipper allows users to highlight relevant compliance data in the report. Automating report generation. One of the advantages of using a tool like Nipper is the ability to automate report generation. For organizations that conduct regular audits, Nipper can be configured to automatically generate reports at specified intervals, e.g., weekly, monthly, or quarterly. Automated reporting ensures that stakeholders have access to up-to-date audit data without requiring manual intervention. Interpreting basic reports. Generating the report is only half the battle. Interpreting the findings is where the real value lies. Effective interpretation of audit reports requires a solid understanding of network security, device configurations, and the specific goals of the audit. Analyzing the executive summary. The executive summary is typically the first section of the report, providing a high-level overview of the audit findings. While this section is often written for non-technical stakeholders, it provides valuable insights that security teams can use to prioritize their remediation efforts. Key questions to ask when analyzing the executive summary include: what are the most critical vulnerabilities identified? How does the network security posture compare to industry best practices? Are there any compliance gaps that need immediate attention? Reviewing vulnerability analysis. The vulnerability analysis section of the report is where the real meat of the audit findings lies. Each vulnerability will typically be categorized by severity, e.g., high, medium, low, and will include a description of the issue, its potential impact, and recommended remediation steps. When reviewing this section, it's essential to prioritize high-severity vulnerabilities. High-severity vulnerabilities should be addressed first, as they pose the greatest risk to the network. Assess impact on network operations. Consider how each vulnerability could impact network performance, security, and compliance. Some vulnerabilities may have more severe consequences than others, depending on the network's configuration and usage. Evaluate remediation recommendations. The report will typically include recommended remediation steps for each vulnerability. Evaluate these recommendations and determine which ones can be implemented quickly and which may require more time or resources. Interpreting compliance data. If the report includes a compliance analysis section, it's important to carefully review this data to ensure that the network is meeting regulatory requirements. The compliance analysis will typically highlight areas where the network is non-compliant and provide recommendations for achieving compliance. Identify compliance gaps. Review the report to identify specific areas where the network is not meeting regulatory standards. Evaluate compliance risks. Assess the potential risks associated with non-compliance, including legal, financial, and reputational risks. Develop a compliance roadmap. Based on the report's findings, develop a roadmap for achieving compliance. This may include updating device configurations, implementing new security controls, or conducting additional audits. Leveraging reports for continuous improvement. Audit reports are not just a one-time snapshot of the network security posture. They are valuable tools for driving continuous improvement. By regularly generating and reviewing reports, organizations can ensure that their network remains secure, compliant, and efficient over time. Establishing a reporting schedule. One of the best ways to leverage audit reports for continuous improvement is to establish a regular reporting schedule. Depending on the size and complexity of the network, organizations may choose to generate reports on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. Weekly reports. For large or complex networks, generating weekly reports can help security teams stay on top of potential vulnerabilities and configuration changes. Monthly reports. Monthly reports are ideal for most organizations, providing a balance between regular monitoring and minimizing the administrative burden of report generation. Quarterly reports. In some cases, quarterly reports may be sufficient, especially for smaller networks with fewer devices to audit. Tracking remediation progress. Audit reports are not just about identifying vulnerabilities. They're also about tracking progress over time. By comparing reports generated at different intervals, security teams can assess whether their remediation efforts are working and whether the network's security posture is improving. Monitor vulnerability trends. Regularly review reports to identify trends in vulnerability data. Are vulnerabilities being patched quickly, or are the same issues recurring across multiple reports? Evaluate compliance progress. For organizations subject to regulatory standards, use reports to track progress toward achieving and maintaining compliance. Are compliance gaps being closed over time? Reporting to stakeholders. Regularly sharing audit reports with stakeholders, including executives and board members, is critical for ensuring that security remains a top priority within the organization. Reports provide tangible evidence of the organization's security posture and help justify investments in security tools, personnel, and training. Conclusion. Report generation is a crucial aspect of network security audits. Whether you're using Nipper or another auditing tool, the ability to generate clear, concise, and actionable reports is key to maintaining a secure network. By understanding the structure of basic reports, leveraging customization options, and effectively interpreting the findings, network administrators can ensure that their networks remain protected from vulnerabilities, compliant with regulatory standards, and optimized for performance. The insights gained from audit reports should not be viewed as static information, but as part of a continuous improvement process. By regularly generating and reviewing reports, tracking remediation progress, and communicating findings to stakeholders, organizations can build a proactive, resilient approach to network security.